If you're looking to generate leads in 2025 using AI, this is an incredible system that allows you to monitor job boards such as Indeed, scrape all of that company information, the job description, input that into a bunch of AI tools, and then ultimately send them an email letting them know that what you have to offer may be better. Whether you have an AI automation agency, a voice agent agency, a recruitment firm, someone who is looking at job boards to find potential companies who are actively looking for someone like you, this is an automation that's going to save you hours worth of time, automate a bunch of manual labor, and email people who are perfect for your service without you having to lift a finger. If you don't know who I am, my name's Thomas. I run an AI automation agency. We help build systems like this for all sorts of business, whether you're doing $1 million plus per year, need a custom end-to-end solution, or just starting to automate your business and want to find solutions on how to grow your own agency or find new clients for your business with new tools that you may not have thought about before. So enough being said, I wanted to jump into exactly what the system looks like, how you can build it yourself, and what you can do in order to scrape job boards, create personal lines, automatically find people in the business to speak to, and then send them an email offering your service. So looking at this as an overview, this is what you get when you jump into your Make account. So just to give a high level top-down view, we start with an Ampl AI scraper. We then run it through a HTTP request. This is to collect some website information. We're going to pass that. We do a company identifier. We generate a quick line for emails. We then send it down one of two routes. I'll run through why in just a second. One of which has Perplexity, the other one doesn't. We then basically use Hunter.io to collect some emails. We put it to sleep, get some more company information, pass that text, and put it into Instantly. So as an overview, what this is going to do on a daily, weekly, however often you want to run it, scrape leads from Indeed, add those leads into Instantly with personal lines, but what we've also done is qualify and vet that company. So I wanted to give you a rundown on how you build this, how you implement it, and what the result looks like on the end. So jumping directly into the automation, you want to start with an Ampl AI module. This Ampl AI module is essentially what this is going to be here. We're using the Indeed Job Scraper PPR, and essentially what that means is we can put in a URL. What we get back is a bunch of job applications. So in this instance, I've put in AI automation, and then that gives back a whole bunch of information that we have on specific companies in whichever region you want to. So for instance, what we have is the input JSON. We have this as the module, and then this is the input JSON. To get the input JSON, what you want to do is come over to this particular job scraper. You want to come down here and look at whatever the Indeed is going to be. Personally, I prefer to use the URLs. It's just a much easier way of finding who you're looking for, going after that Indeed URL. In order to find that information, you would essentially want to come to somewhere like this. Let's say we're looking for web designers. That could be your keyword. You can stack these if you want to, but it's not necessary. Typically, I'll just do one big keyword and I'll let the AI filter out the relevant information. From this point, you want to take this URL. This is the URL we are going for. You want to put whichever place you are in. Could be United Kingdom, USA, Australia, Germany, wherever you are, this is what you want it to be. Or wherever you're looking to attack jobs, this is where you want the address to be. Then you take this URL, you simply paste it into here, and you will start this Ampl AI actor. Once the Ampl AI actor is run, you're going to be able to come into your runs and see a successful run. For example, here we scraped 60 companies for the terminology AI automation. From there, we get a whole bunch of information, and we're going to use this in just a second. So coming back to the Ampl AI module, and here, you need your input JSON. To get the input JSON, you want to come to input. You then want to copy this exact run. This is what you've just done. This is what you need to copy. You come back into here. Essentially what this is going to be is the location that you're going to target, the maximum rows, the number of URLs you want to pull, the location, and then the creme de la creme is the actual Indeed job list you are scraping. Once you pull that, you want to do a test run on here. That's going to spit back a bunch of information. But the most important part you need is get dataset ID. So every time you run the main actor, you want to get a dataset ID. But what you want to do is actually match up that dataset ID to the information that you are looking for. So this will run. This will then go over to here. If you come to storage, this is your dataset ID. You will want to copy this manually for when you're building this out, but you need to make sure that at the end of the automation, you come back here and you map this up to dataset ID that is down here. If you do not map this up and you leave the old one in, no matter how many times you run the actor, it is still going to pull from the hard-coded data that you've put in. Then you want to leave these the same. JSON limit is 100. Depending on how much you want to pull back from Indeed is going to depend on the limit. I've just put in 100 just for the time being. But again, you can completely customize that. From that point onwards, we want to scrape the company website. We want to find out as much information on that particular company that's looking for a job as possible. There are reasons to do this. You do not want to be speaking to recruitment companies. You do not want to speak to companies who are actively looking to hire people on behalf of someone else. You want to avoid these, and to get as much information on the business as we can, we need to scrape their website. In order to do this, we want to have a link in here. This is a formula to replace the HTTP request. It doesn't work when you start adding HTTP stuff in there, so what we've done is got this formula, replace curly bracket, corporate link, which is one of the links that we will get from the actual Indeed data set that we've run. So all the information that comes back here, we want to add that directly into there. It's a get method. We want it raw, JSON, and parse it. Super simple. We do not need much complexities going on there. When we're building up the HTTP request to get information on a website, we want to add an error handler in here to resume. The reason we want to do that is because you will not always get the website from the Indeed job application. It's just not doable, and what you don't want to do is have the automation stop. You would like to carry that person on because you never know. In order to do that, you want to come to settings, you want to add resume and just connect that up. That means if there's an error here, it's going to carry on with the automation. We're just going to miss out that particular bit of information, which is fine. It's always worth having just in case. Then we're passing that text up. You want to use a text parse and add the data from this module directly into here. Super simple. And then we have the company identifier. This is where you do a lot of the heavy lifting. This is where we are trying to work out, based on the job description, the job title, the company website, is this job application worth me reaching out to, or is it not worth it? You'll want to do a little bit of an in-depth analysis on this because you want to make sure that the people you are speaking to are relevant to who you want to speak to. So if we come into here, we've used a 4.1 mini system. Developer is the first prompt that we're going to be giving it. You're a strict lead filtering system. Your job is to decide if a company or a job is relevant for AI automation outreach. What we are then doing is giving it keywords to look out for, keywords to avoid, things that we do not want to include. For example, if the company is a recruitment staffing agency, their website mentions recruitment or staffing, we do not want to work with them. This goes for the same if they're a competitor. You want to look out for keywords. So if you're running this for a web design agency, you want to make sure that the people you're reaching out to are not web designers and they're looking to hire an alternative web designer. A couple of variations that you want to work through as well. Everything will be specific to what you're trying to do, who you're trying to reach out to, and how you will qualify and validate if the job being advertised is a job position that you could fill within your company or offer your services to. And this goes on for quite a bit. You want to be quite in depth about this because you don't want to just be sending emails to people offering, for example, AI automation. If you're emailing someone about AI automation who's looking to hire someone in AI automation, it just doesn't look particularly good and it makes your service look awful. And then things to look out for, that would be a yes, hiring an automation engineer, looking for someone to build AI automations, call agents, automations. Bunch of information in here is going to be massively important. The way in which we compare this information is because we use the company website content, we look at the Indeed job description, the job title, and the company name. Once we give all of this information to ChatGPT, it's able to analyze through each one individually, work out, are they going to be worth reaching out to or not? Once we've got that information, we then set up a quick filter. So we've set it up to reply with yes if they are, no if they aren't. This is again just going to let the people who we are going to speak to come through, and anyone we don't want to speak to is not. Simply add yes or no as the result equal to, and that's good to go. This is then going to stop most people who you don't want to speak to coming through. In terms of an error handler here, we want to add break. The reason we do that is if we don't want to run out of tokens, we don't want to use this too much, and if it does fail, we want to give it a quick pause. What that's then going to do is try again in 5 minutes. It's going to do that 3 times. And if you do set up break error handlers, you want to make sure within settings, you allow for storing of incomplete executions. Okay, after we've identified the company, what we want to do is add a personal line into the email just to make it look like we've done a little bit of research. This is super simple to do again. And again, we've used 4.1 mini developer prompt. What we want to do is basically create a short sentence we can use after the terminology. I saw you were looking at hiring to help with X, Y, and Z. What this AI model is going to do is, based on the job description and the title, build a quick one-liner that we can add. So for example, I saw you were looking to hire someone to help with improving internal processes through AI, setting up Make and Zapier automations, something relevant to you so it looks a little bit more personal. And then we can come into here, and again, the information we're giving it in the user prompt is the Indeed job description and the job title. That then is enough said. This isn't too complicated. It's not like you're writing a very bespoke personal line. You just want to reference the job description that they've got so it doesn't look too automated. Now we want to run through 2 separate variations. The problem with using Indeed is you do not always get the Indeed URL for the business. What that means is if we're trying to use something like Hunter.io to find people within the company, find email addresses, founders, validate the email addresses and work out who we can speak to. Without the URL, this whole automation isn't worth it because we cannot find the person to speak to. So in the chances that we do not get to the corporate website, no URL in the filter does not exist. We are using Perplexity AI to go and find that business based on the location that we have and the business name. Now, I will admit this is not going to be 100% accurate. However, it is more accurate than you probably think. What this looks like is we were using the Sonar model and the content for number 1, which is the system prompt. Your role is to find the URL for the business I give you. All these companies are in the United States. Simple response example. That would be the response, which I've actually spelt wrong. It needs to be working URL that lands on a website. You don't want it to make anything up. You don't want it to be any LinkedIn profile or something. It needs to be a specific website. Then the company information you want to give it is the company name and the location address for that particular business. What we are hoping that Perplexity can do, because it can research in real time, is find a location. For example, it might say Manchester and the company name is, Essentials, for example. What that's then going to do is try and find the URL and we can continue with the automation. This is a fallback system which we will need to use quite often if we do not get the URL from Indeed. The reason this happens is not everyone wants to put their website on Indeed in case people do what we're doing or people reach out to them personally. They want everyone to come through Indeed so they can manage their hiring in a much more organized way. However, that obviously doesn't work for us because we're trying to scrape the information, and we can do it with Perplexity because it's able to research the company. So moving from that point onwards, we then have a HTTP request. This is directly linking to Hunter.io. Hunter.io, if you don't know, is an application or a software which is able to take in a website URL. It's then able to scrape relevant bits of data from across various different places and essentially give you a valid email, a founder, an email address, as well as a few other staff members within that pool. From that pool, we will then have someone that we can reach out to via email saying, we've seen your advertising for this online, we could be interested. But we need the Hunter.io module to do that in order to find the person to speak to. So again, super simple. You want to put in this URL, domain search, company link, corporate website, and then your API key. Or if you come to the one above, you'll see it's slightly different where we've actually got the URL we found within Perplexity. From that point onwards, we want to put it to sleep for just several seconds. I found that adding a small sleep just before this GPT module seems to make it work better, as it was kicking back quite a few errors. It's worth mentioning on these HTTP requests, we've got 2 very different modules, one of which is ignore. Essentially, if the website doesn't exist or it's not giving anything back, just ignore it. That lead will probably flunk out as we're not going to be able to find any more information on them, but we did try. The other one is a break. Sometimes the Hunter module might come back and say there's a token limit or an API limit, and you might just have to wait a little bit. So again, we've added the break module into there. Next up, we've got company info. What we're doing in here is now taking all of the data we got from Hunter.io and getting ChatGPT to sift through it in order to find the person in the company that is worth speaking to. For example, if you're a recruitment company, you probably want to speak to the HR manager. If you're offering them a service, you want to speak to the founder or managing director. This is what this module does. Develop a system. You're a business decision maker, assistant selected at hiring. We're then going to add one below that is going to say what we want to come back. We want this to come back as a JSON object because what we can then do is select first name, last name, business name as a custom variable that we can add directly into an email. Then we have a couple of rules below here. For example, we want to ignore placeholders. We don't want it to make up an email. It needs to be a valid email. And then we've got the priority list of founder, managing director, operations director, and you can add a couple more in here. Important things, do not create or guess emails. AI is very good at making up its own email addresses. You do not want it to make anything up and use the data that we currently have. You want it to return only one contact, who is the best person to speak to. Output must be in valid JSON. And if we cannot find a name for a person or we get very limited information, we want to add the business name as the first name field as a last measure. Then the information we're giving this is the content, is the company name, the job title, all of the company contacts from the Hunter module. And then we're basically giving it a little bit more information already to make sure that we get the right type of emails back. Once you test this module, it should give you back first name, last name, email, LinkedIn, company information in a JSON formula that you then want to pass through in order to have those as optional variables for your email campaign. Which brings us on to the final module, which is a HTTP request directly back into Instantly. So what we've done here is we've actually built out an Instantly campaign that we're going to add these leads to in order to actually send them personal emails. So you can see we've got hi first name, personalization, which is going to show that quick person line to make it look like we looked at the job, a little bit about what it is you are offering, but we need to connect it up to here so it automatically comes in. So from that point onwards, we have the URL is this. It needs to be post authorization bearer. After here, you need to add in your API key. I've removed it, but you would add bearer space API key that you generated from Instantly. Then its body type is raw. JSON, you want to go for application JSON. And then this is the exact JSON request that you want to add in here. You want to change your campaign ID specific to your campaign ID, which you can get from the URL within the Instantly campaign you're going to be sending. Then you have email, first name, last name, company name, and the personalization is going to be that one-off Instantly string that we can add directly in there about the job. Once you have those final bits set up, you want to turn on the Instantly campaign. You want to make sure it's ready to go. You've connected up your emails. Everything is warm. And now what you will be able to do is on a daily basis or every other day is scrape job applications that have been posted to Indeed, get an AI to analyze whether that job application is relevant to your business, whether you could service that job application, and essentially reach out to that company and go, look, we've seen your advertising for X. You need this person. Have you thought about working with us instead? Because we offer this, this, and this. We've got the experience and whatever it may you want to do. We're also finding the perfect person in the business to speak to based on what it is you're trying to do, what it is you're trying to sell. If we cannot find the website URL, we're using Perplexity AI to try and do that for us, which gives us that edge over other people who may not be able to do that. And then we're sending them a personal email that's basically getting in touch saying, look, we do this, we do that, and you don't have to lift a finger. If you run a business and are trying to get involved in AI or implement AI solutions directly into your company, we offer one-to-one audits where we will do an in-depth analysis on your business, understand your processes, the bottlenecks, what is taking up a lot of time, and build out custom solutions in order to solve those problems and help you scale using AI. If that sounds like something you're interested in, please book in a free alignment call below where we'll have a little chat, understand your business, and see if we could be a good fit working together. Or if you want to get access to this exact blueprint, you can see a link below which will give you everything you need in order to build this yourself and plug and play. Appreciate your time. Hope you've enjoyed the build, and I'll see you in the next video.